She was down to her last dollar. A single mother, desperate for a chance, standing in a world that refused to look her in the eye.
Look at this mess! You're fired! Get out!
Sir, please, leave him alone!
Don't you dare interfere!
Everyone saw a mistake. Everyone saw someone beneath them. But Sarah, she saw a human being.
You shouldn't have to do this alone.
You're a kind girl.
We can do this together.
Thank you.
She thought she had just ruined her interview. She thought her life was over. Little did she know, the test had only just begun. A secret reward for a heart of gold. See how one act of kindness changed everything. She thought it was just another day of rejection, another door slammed in her face while the world looked the other way. But in that cold office lobby, a single act of kindness toward a man everyone else ignored was about to trigger a chain of events she never saw coming. She didn't know his name, and he didn't look like someone who could change her life. Yet, as she reached out to help the elderly janitor whom the world had stepped over, she was unknowingly stepping into a destiny that would rewrite her future forever. What happened when the man with the broom finally stood up? And why was she the only one he chose to see? Sarah had always lived in the shadows of a dream that felt increasingly out of reach. A single mother in her late 20s, her life was a delicate balancing act of unpaid bills, fading hopes, and the constant, gnawing fear of not being enough for her young daughter. Every morning, she stood before the mirror, adjusted her worn-out blazer, and whispered a silent prayer. Let today be the day. But the city was cold, and the corporate towers she visited felt like fortresses designed to keep people like her out. As she entered the gleaming glass lobby of the city's largest tech firm, her heart hammered against her ribs. This was her last chance. Her rent was overdue, her fridge was empty, and the exhaustion was beginning to settle into her very bones. She felt the heavy gaze of the security guards, the silent judgment of the well-dressed executives, a feeling of not belonging that she had carried like a second skin for years. It started with a crash, a sound of glass shattering and water spilling across the polished marble floor. An elderly janitor, his back hunched and his hands trembling, had dropped his bucket. The busy crowd didn't stop. They stepped around the puddle, their faces twisted in annoyance, some even muttering insults about incompetence as they hurried to their high-stakes meetings. Then came the manager, a man whose suit cost more than Sarah's yearly rent. He didn't offer a hand, he offered a threat. He loomed over the janitor, his voice a sharp cutting that echoed through the lobby, demanding his badge, calling him a stain on the company's image. Sarah watched, her own interview just minutes away, her own future on the line. She knew the rules. Stay quiet, don't make a scene, just get through the day. But as the janitor struggled to get to his knees, his eyes meeting hers for a fleeting second, Sarah felt a sting of familiar pain. She knew what it felt like to be invisible. She knew what it felt like to be judged by a uniform. Ignoring the ticking clock and the risk to her own reputation, she stepped forward. Sarah knelt in the dirty water, ignoring the gasps of the onlookers. She helped the old man up, her voice steady and kind as she told him, "It's okay, Baba. It's just water. I've got you." She even handed him the only bottle of water she had in her bag, a small gesture in a room filled with giant egos. The manager, telling her she just ruined her chances of ever working there. 10 minutes later, Sarah was called into the CEO's office. She walked in, her skirt still damp, her spirit crushed, expecting a formal rejection. But as the high-backed leather chair turned around, her breath caught in her throat. The man sitting there wasn't the manager. He wasn't a stranger. It was him. The janitor. But the hunched back was gone. The trembling hands were steady. Mr. Sterling, the billionaire founder of the empire, looked at her with a gaze that wasn't cold or assessing. It was filled with a profound, quiet respect. In a building full of successful people, he said, his voice echoing in the sudden silence. "You were the only one who showed me what it means to be a human." The aftermath felt like a blur. The manager who had bullied the janitor was gone before the sunset. Sarah didn't just get the job, she was given a position that ensured her daughter would never know the sting of hunger again. But as she sat in her new office weeks later, looking out at the city that once felt so hostile, the weight of the moment still sat heavy in her chest. She realized then that the world looks exactly the same, but for her, it felt completely opposite. She wasn't just recovering from poverty, she was recovering from the truth the world had shown her, that we are all one moment away from being judged and one act of kindness away from being saved. Her story sparked a shift in the company, a movement that demanded humanity over status. She never asked to be a hero. She just chose to see a human being where everyone else saw a shadow. And in doing so, she reminded us all, how many more janitors are we stepping over every day? And how many more lives could be changed if we simply decided that enough is enough?